The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's Wednesday in the Riv, and more nausea prevails. There was a council meeting last night.
Yes, there was. And I'm going to tell you right now, this company, Sadesky or Sadeska or whatever the hell they're called, they're coming out of Newport. The one thing that I liked about this TIF, which is only for personal property because it's going into the Commonwealth Landing building, and we spoke about this before, but this time this TIF has a job requirement, and there's a local hiring preference. My problem with that is there aren't enough people in Fall River that can do that type of work, computer programming and coding for security software.
And if they can do that, they've already got a job.
Exactly, and they're not going to live in Fall River.
Most likely.
So that was added, and that was useless.
Well, yeah. Well, you know, again, the con, we're going to have a hiring preference.
Right.
Just like we've got an ordinance that says you're supposed to live in a city, and they hire people from out of town,
right,
and they don't enforce that. So all these things are nothing, and that's the problem. People have got to, I don't know what it's going to take for the people to get fed up enough to just clean house. I mean, this last year, or better than a year, that all this crime wave has created, we've seen in this city, it's exposed for everybody to see.
It's not hidden anymore, that's for sure.
The favoritism, the patronage, the way they take care of the rich and the well-connected, and just completely, here it is, everybody. Taxpayer, you only make $22,000? Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? Who gets a TIF? In what building? A building that got the roadway in front of it paved ahead of everybody. You've been waiting for 10 years to get your street paved, and one of the rich and nauseous gets his street immediately. As soon as he bought that property, they had to pave that. That was #1 priority.
And put in sidewalks and everything else.
Sidewalks and everything else. Then they get a TIF. Including
landscaping.
And they got a TIF. And they still haven't complied with the requirement for parking spaces, by the way.
Right.
By the way. Just in case you think we forgot, but we haven't. Go down there and count the parking spaces.
And here's another company bringing in, allegedly, another 93 people.
Yeah, and where are they going to park? They're going to make rooftop parking, and they'll get a TIF for that. No, don't worry about it.
They'll get a TIF for that.
And then now they're giving private businesses TIFs. Where does it end? It never ends. And who gets it? Somebody moving into a building of somebody who already got a TIF, who was a big money guy in the city. And who got the last TIF? Another big money guy. We all know the names, but it doesn't matter. The names are irrelevant. Because it's, you know, all you need is a scorecard. Number 80, number 85. Well, today, it might be Tony Cadero. The next time they run a play like this, it might be one of the Carams. Years ago, it was the Bordens and the Durfees that owned all the sweatshops and lived up on a hill while everybody was chained to a machine. Nothing, and by the way, our acting mayor came out at the committee and voted against this and said he doesn't believe in private TIFs or ties. Look, I don't care what euphemism you get. What it is payola, patronage, and taking care of not the good old boys. I love it when they say the good old boys. And you know something? As I said, there's no such thing. They're just the political malingerers who get taken care of. They get a job as a janitor. They stick them in the school department, or they put them in City Hall, sweeping up the floor for a few bucks, and they'll run around like the minions that they are and kiss butt. But it's the big money people, most of whom don't live in the city, who just continue to rape and pillage, and nobody cares. Nobody cares. Oh, well, you know, they're developing a city. No, they're not. They're developing their bank account.
That's right.
The only reason that they have any investments in Fall River is because they can do it for virtually nothing. So that's not an investment when you're basically paying nothing out of pocket. And that's the two different perspectives. And this will segue us into a whole bunch of other politicians taking care of politicians, rich being taken care of, and it just never ends. I'm looking
Well, you talked about this TIF, though, okay?
Yeah.
And let's talk about another developer, Anthony Cordero.
Wow! Didn't I just say that name?
$1.3 million from the state. The state gave him a grant for his buildings on 3rd Street and on Pleasant Street.
Yeah.
The city already gave him an $86,000 tax break. So now he's going to get $1.3 million, and he's going to make more units.
Kind of like that what happens for all of them. If you check the lineage of one of the old boy rich network, that's exactly how he got started. He got a federal loan, low interest loan, to buy a building, and then mysteriously, quote unquote, a whole bunch of people started moving in that were connected. People who were on the board of directors of Charlton and South Coast. Doesn't he have South Coast down there?
Yeah.
Yep. Didn't he have the coffee concession at South Coast?
I believe so.
Yeah. It's amazing how their tentacles reach into anywhere they can make some money, and then they get it for free. They get a better interest on their loan than we do. They don't have to pay taxes. And if they get a $20,000 pay raise, they get to pay half their taxes.
That's
right. So that segues us into the next. But I mean, when is it going to stop? And our council, the representatives of the people of Fall River will sit up there. And of course, look, this isn't unexpected. You know, 3 of them are lame ducks. They're dead ducks. They're gone. But what about the other councilors? They don't care. Don't listen to them when they tell you they care about you and your taxes and how difficult it is to get your road paved.
Or plowed.
Or anything else. And look, this drives me crazy because I don't know how much that they have to defecate on your head before you start putting new people in every election until somebody sitting in those chairs pays attention to your lot in life. Nobody cares if you have a difficult time buying groceries and paying your mortgage and paying your taxes. Nobody cares. They don't care if their water bill goes up. They get $20,000 pay raises and pay less taxes than you do on your garage. And then the cabal or the cartel or the government, we can use all those terms interchangeably.
Very loosely.
And very loosely. It's a crime wave. Then we got a judge, a former judge, saying that Kathy Ann didn't know anything about this. Her labor of love. Her labor of love. Yeah, you give me a tax bill that's half the tax bill I had last time. I won't notice it.
And she was paying it. She was paying it herself. The taxes are not included in her mortgage.
That's right.
She was paying that herself.
Listen, even if it's included in your mortgage, if it goes down, you get a statement. And sometimes, because your mortgage payment, if it's rolled in, includes the escrow for your real estate taxes.
Right.
And if it goes down, they'll lower the premium. They'll lower it because that is a separate entity. It's not your mortgage payment. Your mortgage payment, if you got a fixed loan, obviously, is fixed. So let's say you pay $1,000 as a mortgage payment. So, it's going to be $1,000 until you pay off the loan. Until maybe the last payment, you'll pay a little more, a little less, close out the loan, whenever. But your real estate tax is kept in an escrow account, if it's in there, and it's added to your mortgage payment. So if it costs you, if you have to put away $100 a month or $200 a month to cover your property taxes, now you're going to get your bill from your bank for $1,200. Now, if all of a sudden your taxes go down and you only need $600 a month, they're going to adjust it. They adjust mine all the time. Mine's rolled in. I don't like to even remember it. I just pay it. So it's
We just get the copies of the bills.
I get the copies of the bills. It's rolled in. But every time the taxes go up, they send me a statement. You're going to have to take more to put in the escrow. And if they had less, they'd say less. But I get a statement. And fortunately, I can read. But we got somebody who was in charge of the finances of the city of Fall River. And what is the primary source of the finances in Fall River?
Taxes.
Property taxes, right? So the person in charge of property taxes couldn't figure out that she was being undertaxed. She's a tax cheat. That's exactly what she is, a tax cheat. And to rub your nose in it more. Rub your nose in it more. I don't know how, it just scares me what kind of,
Well,
when you talk about judges and you say, do you wonder about if there's any political influence on judges? Here's a form. You had she didn't know. Absolutely didn't know.
As a result of the findings in the report, Corporation Counsel Joseph Macy, in a confidential memo to Ponte dated November 21st, obviously not too confidential, indicates that there appeared to be no wrongdoing on the part of Averis. That's bullcrap. Bullcrap.
It's more than that.
Okay?
It's elephant crap.
Yeah.
That's how big it is.
Yeah.
Or even and if there was a dinosaur around, it would be dinosaur crap.
This report generated more questions, and people are now starting to look at other elected officials' properties to see if they're paying their fair share in taxes. Let's look at this, really. Her taxes went down 54% to $302 in the third and fourth quarters.
But let's get
of 2017.
Let's get really specific here, because that's what lawyers do in interpretation. What is the fourth word in that sentence? Surmised. Surmised. So that's his opinion.
Right.
There was no influence exerted by neither Viveris or Mello and his duty to inspect the property. I don't even make. It's a clear failure to perform basic job functions. Surmise. So look, number one, they know they're friendly. Number two, he resigned. So tax cheat, malfeasance on the part of a public official, she knew it. And if she didn't know it, there's your catch-22. Kathy Ann Viveris is guilty of being the dumbest city administrator in the history of the city of Fall River, because she has a fiduciary responsibility to track money, and she couldn't track her own taxes. She didn't know that. She's going to plead ignorance to this. And then the guy who has made opinions that nobody's ever wrong, that the mayor can stay in office, the mayor can do this, but he always stops short of saying that he didn't quote the law that he should be unpaid.
Right.
Okay? He can take a leave of absence, and he stopped there, just like this. He surmised. So if he surmised wrong, well, he'll say, well, hey, people make mistakes. This is the problem, is if, you wanted to abolish the RDA, and I agree with you. I truly believe that we should abolish the law department in the city of Fall River. Because all they are is rubber stamps for every political hack in the world. They exonerate everybody. I don't care what you did. Jazel could murder half the 6th floor. And Joe Macy would say, well, I'm not sure if he actually did it. I surmise that it could have been a phantom. So
The Phantom Menace.
The Phantom Menace, that's exactly right. So, look, as far as I'm concerned, what we should do is have one lawyer working there who basically, you know, proofreads the contracts and stuff like that.
Why? They don't even proofread contracts.
I know, they don't. Well, and they don't care what's in them either. I know that. That's why Bob Connors was the best city administrator, because he had a labor background. But let's be frank. We should contract out, because we do anyway. We pay an entire law department, and every time we get a case that's more than a pothole, we farm it out to somebody anyway.
That's right.
So why don't we put a really good attorney and his firm on retainer?
Why? We already got other firms on retainer.
I know, but we still got a law department.
I know. That's the problem.
See, that's the problem. But I mean, get a real lawyer, not these people that are politically connected and do what's politically correct. I know attorneys who have been city lawyers. They were on retainer. They didn't work as the corporation counsel. They rendered opinions. They did this, but they would actually. And they would actually give you an opinion. And what disturbs me more about this, everything's like this giant circle jerk. Because the rich, the politically connected, the hacks, it's like a never-ending chain. It's like that, what is it, the Lion King, the circle of life. This is the circle of politics in the city of Fall River. Corrupt politics. They're all in that trough together, and they all cover for each other. They all cover for each other.
Obviously, that's what's happening here.
And you know, to say that she didn't know.
She'd have to.
And if anybody had a clear failure, and I'm taking the last line of this article, if anybody had a clear failure to perform basic job functions, it was Kathy Ann Viveris. Because the financial wizard couldn't figure out she was being undertaxed. Their labor of love, labor of BS, labor of elephant poop. I don't care. Dinosaur poop. This is the biggest crock I have ever seen in my life.
And let's put another layer.
And we never end. It never ends because the city council is complicit. They rubber stamp everything.
And let's put another layer of crap on it. Cliff Ponte said it's done. He's not going to take it any further. There's no referral to the district attorney. There's nothing. It's done. It's done.
Well,
and you know what? That's the problem. Nobody's ever held accountable. Nobody.
Right. That's right. Well, let them run off into the sunset because maybe they got dirt on them. But you know something? Shame on Cliff Ponte. Shame on Cliff Ponte. I left a message on his thing today that this should be, you know, number one, you should come out against, because he voted against it.
Right.
So let's see if he has the courage to veto it if he can. I have to check the charter if he has that power.
He has that power.
He can veto this.
And he won't.
And at best, he should come out publicly and state what he stated supposedly at the subcommittee meeting, that he's not in favor of say something. You are the acting mayor, and when you're done with that, you are going to be the president of the city council. Go on record. Because as far as I'm concerned, if you don't turn this over, you're not fit to be on the 6th floor. We need a mayor who will hold people accountable. You're going to fire some clown at the lowest level because they pissed off one of your friends, and for no good reason. And I saw that happen in City Hall. I remember when somebody irritated a chief of staff.
Oh, yeah.
And that individual was fired, summarily fired. But we have people mismanaging, mishandling, not paying their fair share of taxes, being tax cheats, who are fiduciaries of this city. and they're allowed to walk away. They don't have to pay it back. They don't have to do anything. But you won't take them and say, listen, you screwed the city in taxes for X amount of years. We want it back. You were also a fiduciary of this city, and you didn't do your job. You had a clear failure to executing your basic duties. This is an outrage. This is an outrage. It's disgusting. I don't even know how anybody in this city, if this doesn't wake you up. I mean, you just keep watching these rich people get better loans than you could ever get in a million years, get their streets paved on demand, get all the improvements around their property so they can make more money, and then we give them a damn tax break. Tax break. It's just never ending. That's all it is. They're just pounding you in like a nail. There's nothing left. And you wonder why this city can't move forward. You wonder why nobody wants to move in here. Crime wave. That's what we got, a crime wave.
And it starts at the top.
That's right.
Hey, you know what they always
like
say?
I said, shame on the acting mayor.
Well, you know what they always say?
This should be far from done.
You know what they always say? The fish rots from the head back. Okay?
But no, look, I'm serious. I don't care.
Well, there's another fiduciary that nobody mentioned. How come Mary Sahadi had no idea about this? Well, none whatsoever.
Because she's never had any idea.
No, but why? Because she's friends with Kathy Ann.
Well, not only that. Look,
you're not going to tell me they were bittering over coffee somewhere?
Well,
or kibitzing over coffee?
Look, I don't even know. And it's irrelevant because, look, Mary Sahadi's been missing stuff for 30 years.
Yeah.
And they made it a CFO. They gave her a promotion and a $40,000 pay raise. But let's wait. And I'm going to say it here on the air publicly so everybody will remember this when it comes before the retirement board. When she got that $40,000 pay raise, Kathy Ann Rivera said in front of the city council, and I will have the video, that the reason the raise was so large was she was previously a part-time employee, and then she became a full-time employee.
Right.
So I want to see if she tries to get full-time credit for the time she was initially the CFO, because then we're going to have a problem, because somebody's lying. And she was sitting at the table with her when she said it. And I didn't hear her say, oh, no, I was full-time. So we will be looking into her time.
I better get that video for you.
Because I'll tell you, it just never ends. They find ways to screw, and they talk, and she's the one that called people a liability. But she's going to make sure she gets as much pension as she can by only working full-time as little as possible. You or I can't get a pension after 5 years.
That's right.
But she can.
Well, that's because she served on the
20
housing
years
authority.
of showing up once a month for a board meeting, and then you're going to use your 5 years full-time to jack up your pension like 800%. So if you think that irritates me, it does, because I've been fighting for the guy that gets nothing my whole life in the union. The guy the chief didn't like and was going after him because he didn't like him. And he let a million other people do exactly what he did without doing anything. That's the kind of people. This is the people of Fall River. The people of Fall River just keep getting it tucked every single day. And why? Why, in God's name, there's not enough of us left in this city to vote the council clean? Clean it out. It drives me crazy. I'm sorry.
Just remember, bend over, because it's coming hard.
Well, and it never ends.
No, it doesn't.
Kathy Ann doesn't have to pay her taxes, but she gets a $20,000 pay raise. She was one of the highest paid city employees. And she worked 4 floors or something above the tax collector.
That's right.
But they couldn't get into her house. They saw her every day. There were numerous adjustments of her taxes, but nobody did anything. They're just incompetent. So we were paying her for all these years. But from the start, I always said she was nothing more than a mall manager, and she's proved it. But a self-serving mall manager. She came in and she got what she got, and she's another one that was on a city council for a long time and wants a better pension.
Right.
So she took that full-time job
To get her 5
to
years.
get her 5, her high 5, so she can jack her pension up through the ceiling.
And she got her high 5.
And what does everybody do? Everybody give the rich guys more. Like I said, think about it, people. First they give them a loan, virtually low interest, no interest. First they give them a loan that you could never get. You went to a bank and told them you wanted that loan, and you beat it. We're not giving you this loan. And then they give them a TIF. They don't have to pay taxes. Then, because they're on everybody's board, check their tenant list. Don't believe me. Do not believe me. Go check Tony Cadero's buildings and see how many South Coast subsidiaries they have in there. How many people from businesses that are connected in some way to the city. Do you think that's coincidental?
It's coinky-dink.
You know, and this is what happens with all of them, because they're everywhere. They're like a cancer. They stay in long enough, and they end up on the state level, and sometimes on a national level. I mean, we had people that were on the governor's board. As a matter of fact, one of the Fall River Old Rich Network was instrumental in giving Billy Bolger a $200,000 pay raise when he became the president of UMass, to give him a salary of like $325,000. And he's one of the highest pensions in the state of Massachusetts, but nobody cares. And, you know, most of the people who used to vote these people out, when I think about the history of Fall River, CJ, I remember years ago, if you raised taxes 2 years in a row, you were gone.
You were gone, baby.
You were gone. I mean, there was a vapor trail coming out of your butt.
Yeah.
They knocked you out of that 6th floor, and they knocked you out of the council in no time. But now, all those people are now living in Somerset and Swansea and Westport and Rehoboth, and they're complaining at their town meetings, looking at the money. So what's left is that small core of voters who pay attention, but not enough to override the politically connected and the people looking for deals.
Right.
And that's what happens. We can't get these people out. And when is a regular guy in a 3-decker? This morning on the radio, somebody was complaining about his renter, and how that affects it, and how taxes, and how his landlord had to pay 5 times more than Kathy Ann, who's making a lot more than him.
I paid 5 times more than Kathy Ann.
Yeah, so did I probably. But you know, when are people going to get? They just sit down and let people shovel manure down their throat, and they don't say anything. Rage against this, please.
Rage against the machine.
And shame on acting mayor. Shame on the acting mayor.
The sad part about it is that people say, well, they're coming to Fall River to develop it and make it better. No, they're coming to Fall River because they can rip us off.
Yeah.
That's what you don't understand. They're not coming here because they care about Fall River. They care about their bottom line. They care about their pockets. And if you get screwed, who cares?
And when they come in for that, they leave just as quickly. Remember, that was what they said about the mills when they went to North Carolina.
That's right.
They were going for cheaper labor,
That's
for
right.
better bottom line. They didn't stay there either, did they?
No, they
No,
didn't.
they went to Bangladesh and China, and that's what happens. These people are coming from Newport because they're getting a ton of freebies, and when their bottom line begins to shrink, they'll go looking for another place to pitch their tent.
And look at what's happening in Pawtucket about TIFs, okay? There's a $400 million project, and they want $100 million from in the form of a TIF from the taxpayers. And they said the taxpayer can afford it. They're saying the taxpayer can afford it. Gina Romano says it's going to be the best thing for Pawtucket. Give me a break.
Yeah, well, did you see the Libertarians interview? Very
Yes,
good.
I did.
He said if it's going to be that productive a business, there should be enough dry tinder to support it.
That's right.
But then you looked at the other politician, he said, oh, you know, we need that because it's going to turn Pawtucket into a jewel. Well, you know, if you believe that one, people...
We got some great deal on swampland for you.
We got some swampland and some bridges we're gonna sell you. So hey, everybody have a good one. And if you're not upset now, Get upset.
Call the acting mayor and tell him you want a criminal investigation done into Kathy Ann Viveris and this problem. You want the DA to look into it. That's what I say.
Here.
Have
I second that motion.
Yeah. Have a great day, and we'll see you on Friday.